and our guest panelists, on behalf of Project Speak Life Incorporated and its staff and board directors, we would like to especially thank Dr. Anton Reese and the production staff here at WKCTC for their willingness to broadcast this debate. It has been a pleasure to work with you. Our mission is to inspire, empower, and support our community through partnership, philanthropy, education, the arts, and culture, which the express intent of building capacity. We are happy and proud to have you on board for our second in a series of conversations. Tonight's debate will be moderated by Shamari Morrison of WPSD TV6. She's our official timekeeper and will be responsible for informing you when you are near the end of your time for answering the questions as well as your rebuttal. There are a total of 8 questions that will be presented to each candidate, and you will have 2 minutes to answer and 1 minute to rebuttal. In addition, you may ask the panelists to restate the question if needed. Your time starts immediately after the question is asked to include any clarification you may need. You may not interrupt the other candidate to rebuttal, but you must wait until the candidate's time is up before indicating to the moderator that you would like to provide a rebuttal. Tonight's panelists are as follows. Jeff Parker, County Commissioner and Paducah business owner representing the business and economic development. Ann Bidwell, United Way of Paducah McCracken County. The Community Impact Manager representing the social accountability. Mr. George Ross, owner of R&D Roofing and Remodeling and member of WC Community Center, representing small minority business owners. Ada Vega, social worker, Marion V. Paducah Mayfield, representing the Latino community. Unfortunately, Ms. Vega is unable to attend the debate tonight, but her questions will be presented by Ms. Latoya Benberry. Each participant will be forewarned by the moderator at 30-second mark, and their time to speak is nearing the end. We ask that you adhere to her questions respectfully. She has a red flag that she will brandish, giving you 30 seconds to complete your answer. After the last question has been answered, each candidate will have the opportunity to offer 1 to 2 minutes of their final thoughts. Please keep in mind that we are here to express our views respectfully and transparently. The debate is intended to challenge you on the issues that may be sensitive in nature. However, our goal is to provide you with a positive platform to share our views as the Paducah City Mayoral candidates. Now, please welcome our moderator tonight from WPSD Channel 6, Ms. Shamaria Morrison.
Hello, I'm Shamaria Morrison, as he said. I'm from WPSD Local 6. I'm a reporter and a weekend anchor at the station. And we will be starting the debate. And just, I know that the people who are watching right now, you can only see the candidates, but if the people who are on the panel will be asking the questions, would you all just mind turning around and waving to the camera just so they can kind of put a face to a name, just so they know who's going to be speaking. And I'd like to know that if anyone needed any of those questions or any of the rules repeated, if you want to say something now, if someone's not speaking loud enough, feel free to say it in a reminder to our people who are on the panel right now, making sure that you're speaking loudly and clearly towards the microphone. I have a little bit of experience with that, so I know, I'm telling y'all I know what I'm talking about. And I'd just like to introduce the people who are going to be in the mayoral race right now. And
policing practices and immigration migrant worker protections. Latinos also desire to see candidates who value diversity, social equity for all citizens, and who have the capacity to bring people groups together to make positive changes. Paducah has 3.1% population of Latino voters. Can you share your plans to engage us in the upcoming local elections by addressing the aforementioned topics?
you're first. Timer starts now.
Okay, our population here in Paducah is not as diverse as some others around us. However, I think it's up to the elected leaders to create an environment where everyone feels included. Sometimes that's a little more challenging to do, but making sure that whatever the guidelines are, whether it's housing, whether it's jobs, making sure that those opportunities are there. Most folks, what they want is an opportunity. Once you give them an opportunity, those who want to have that initiative to move to the next level will take it. It's our job to make sure that no one is void of that opportunity. So I think as long as we do that, those folks that are that have the initiative to move to the next level will have it. In any case that a situation occurs where opportunities are being blocked, then that's something that we look at, figure out what the problem is, fix it, and then move forward.
Start.
All right. Yeah, I've spoken with members of the Latino community here recently, to try to get an idea of what they need in our city and what they feel that our city needs to better suit them and their community. And, some of the questions that you raised, that is something that I would look into once in office, but I do want to make sure that I keep it equal with every community here in our city, and with those opportunities. I do want to offer those opportunities for that community with jobs, with homes, with all of these things that they need and want. And I just think once in office, I will be able to sit down and really sit down with the community and allow them a chance to tell me what they think they need. And we can work from it from there. And with the city council that may be in place then, I want to just gather around with them and the community members of the separate communities and really just get an idea of what they want so they can tell their elected official what they think they need. And I want to work with them to make sure we make that happen.
Mr. Bright?
So the first thing I would do is actually, I would convene a group of Latinos together, and I would sit down and listen to them. And I would ask them what their concerns are in the community, and I would ask them exactly how they would like to get involved. As mayor, I would definitely involve Latinos more in boards if they so choose. Also, I would, as a business person and as a person who's running on a platform of growing our economic development and our jobs, I would help Latinos either get into business or grow their businesses. I think it's very important as small businesses. You see a lot of them. You see a lot of them around. They're very family oriented, and I would do everything that I could to help them start businesses and be more successful as possible. But the first and most important thing is you have to listen. And you have to understand what their perspective is, and we need to integrate them into the community to make sure that our community is as diverse as it possibly can be. But involvement is the key.
Thank you so much. We're going to go on to our second panelist, which is Mr. George Ross. Mr. Ross, if you wanted to give your question, again, Mr. Abraham, you'll be starting. Mr. Bray, you'll be ending.
Thank you so much. My first question is, and I would ask that you really think about your answer to this question. But what is your plan to create trust and integrity within the Black community?
Mr. Abraham, you can start.
I think, first of all, you have to make sure that you are a truthful person. You have to build a relationship before there could be any trust. You don't trust folks that you don't have a relationship with. Again, making sure that those folks who want to, that has the initiative to work, to start a business, making sure within the framework of our city government, what we can do from that vantage point, making sure that happens. One of the things that we have at the city, we have a diversity problem within City Hall. One of the things that I've tried to get going, and if I'm elected mayor, that we will have a diversity group made up of not only blacks, whites, a nice diversity group from the city, and we will go to down the road in Nashville when they have career days and present Paducah in a way, this is a great place to be, the cost of living is low, we want you to be a part of what we're doing there. Having job fairs on campus at City Hall, I think that's a lazy approach, wanting folks to come to you. We haven't really put together a plan to go out and actively recruit minorities, but we want the best people. And the only way to do that is to present yourself as serious about incorporating those talents within City Hall.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas?
Could you repeat the question?
Yes, sir. What is your plan to create trust and integrity within the black community?
I think it's a really simple answer to that question. I believe all it takes is getting out there in the African American community and showing them that I will be the mayor for them and for everybody, but it takes that step of getting out there in their community, finding out what they want and need from the government, from their city, and it's fairly that simple. We can't sit in City Hall and just, taking written in notes of what they want or this and that. I will get out in that community, walk with them, talk with them, and see what they want and need in our city.
Well, I'm not sure it's that simple, but, for me, but establishing trust and showing integrity is really all about getting to know people. It's getting out there and, doing what you actually say you're going to do. If you say that you're going to involve more minorities and point them to boards, it's doing that. It's inviting people into City Hall and allowing them to get to know me as a person and understand the administration that I established in City Hall, and making sure that they understand that I am sincere, that we all are as sincere, and then it's really putting your money where your mouth is. It's following through. All of my life, I've been a person that when I committed to somebody to do something, I almost always follow through. And it's very important, especially in establishing trust with this community, that when you look at somebody and you say that I'm going to do something, that you do it. Mr. Ross, I met with you a couple of weeks ago. I reached out into the community. I wanted to see exactly what your business was like, and I'm going to do a lot more of that when I'm elected mayor.
Thank you. And just a reminder, you can do a rebuttal. It's 1 minute if anyone felt the need to do so. We're going to go ahead and go on to our third panelist. This is Bidwell. If you'd like to go ahead with your question.
Sure. Thank you, candidates. Several area nonprofits have been hard hit by the pandemic. They've lost vital fundraisers while the number of community members needing their help has increased and is increasing. On top of that, these nonprofits are absorbing additional costs through PPE, personal protective equipment, and cleaning supplies and materials. So if elected, what would you do to both support and rejuvenate our community's social support system?
Mr. Abraham?
Well, the issue that the nonprofits are facing is something that has crossed our community back and forth. And the strain on them was evident early on because those among us who don't have a whole lot depend a lot on those non-for-profits. So what we did was initiate some funding for them. Those funds only go so far. You can only do that for so long. So I think it takes a group effort as far as the Paducah as a whole, as a community. I totally support the city doing as much as possible to make sure that those non-for-profits have what they need, but it's going to take more than just City Hall. We can do some things, but it's going to take those partners that the non-for-profits have built over the years to come in alongside and help. The city has a role to play. The private sector has a role to play. And I think when we do that, then a community is operating the way it should.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas?
Could you repeat the question for me?
Hurt by the pandemic. They've lost vital fundraisers while the number of community members needing their help has increased and is increasing. And on top of all of that, these nonprofits are absorbing additional expenses with PPE and cleaning materials and so on. So if elected, what would you do to both support and rejuvenate our community's social support system?
Definitely. Thank you for that question. As many of you know, I am donating my first year's salary back to Paducah for COVID-19 relief. And that's just doing a small part, my small part in giving back to the community for COVID-19, because COVID-19 was devastating. It hurt so many families, it hurt so many businesses, and Paducah is built on family business. And I feel like those funds, the city doesn't have all the money, and it sometimes takes taken from the state and federal, but then that does go out at a point in time. So I think it does take the community coming together as well to try to help finance these nonprofits and these organizations to help the community, those that are able to do so. But again, like I said, doing my small part, I am donating my first year salary back to Paducah for COVID-19 relief.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Mr. Bray?
So, so the city makes selective investments in many organizations in the city and nonprofits, and I think that's important. But the city is suffering from COVID as well, and so the city is not the organization that can really financially support nonprofits. However, the mayor is a position of influence, and I think that the mayor can generate more interest in the community, in private individuals and in business, to step up and help the contributions, raise the contributions to those nonprofits that are in need. There are many generous people in Paducah. We've proven that over and over and over again through the years. But sometimes you just have to engage with them and make sure that they are involved and that they know where the need is. Same thing with businesses. There's businesses that are very supportive of our nonprofits. I'm a 20-year member of the Oscar Cross Boys and Girls Club, and I know exactly what nonprofits are going through right now. And so our board, a strong board, a creative board is very important to looking at these issues, and so we've done that at the Oscar Cross Boys and Girls Club to make sure that we were on top of it for the future. And we're going to come out of this in good shape, but that's because we did a lot of good planning along the way.
Thank you. And it looks like, Mr. Thomas, would you like a rebuttal?
Yes, I do.
Okay, if you give me 1 second, let me put my 1 minute timer on. And you can go.
Yeah, and I do have one question for Mr. Bray. It's public record that he has spent nearly $60,000 just on his campaign alone. So I do raise the question, would you also be willing to give up your first year's salary to the community for COVID-19 relief?
Yeah, I'm not going to make that decision today. I appreciate the question. I give generously to many nonprofits. My track record, I stand on my track record. I have given many dollars to the Oscar Cross Boys and Girls Club over the years, and I will continue to make donations. But I'm not going to sit here tonight and say I'm going to give up my first year's salary.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Parker, you are up. If you'd like to say your question.
Okay, it's kind of a two-part question. So first part is annexation. How aggressive do you feel the city should be on annexation with the county, and also on local county city share agreements, financial agreements? How fair, and what would you do? How do you feel about these agreements, and how will you work to secure a good, fair, and equitable agreement that both sides can live with?
Okay, first part, the annexation. There's the city pretty much is landlocked, and so the only way to expand those borders is through annexation. A couple of ways you can do that. You can do that by voluntary annexation, when a person says, or a business says, I want to be involved in I want to be a part of the city, and logistically it's set up where you can do that. The other part is forced annexation. That doesn't happen a lot. That's not very popular. Folks don't like that. So that's I think it's a tool you can use. I preferably think that if folks want to be involved, want to be in the city, businesses, and they want to be annexed in, then there's a roadmap for that. As far as interlocal agreements, you mentioned being partners. That's something that Paducah is in McCracken County. So anything that happened in Paducah happens in McCracken County. So that comes down to the decision makers as mayor sitting down with the judge and and other partners in figuring out exactly the best way to do an agreement, making sure that everything is as close to a level as you can get, not leaving that meeting or taking away some feeling that one party is being taken advantage of or not stepping up to the plate. So I think it all depends on who you're sitting down with. Once you sit down across the table, you want to negotiate in good faith, and I think that's the way to go.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas?
Yeah, so I believe that would be a decision that would need to be made with community involvement and sitting down with the proper people. I'm not too familiar with it, honestly, and that's why I would want to educate myself more on that issue to learn more about it and see the pros and cons of going forward with something like that. But again, I believe that would take sitting down with the proper people, getting the community involved, because their voices do matter in situations that involve their community. So I think that's my answer to that.
Thank you. Mr. Bray?
Jeff, would you repeat it, please?
For it, against it, how aggressive will you be? Local, city, county agreements, financial agreements, specifically financially, and how do you feel about these agreements? How would you work to make them where they're fair, equitable agreements that both sides can live with?
So the city is landlocked, and annexation the right way would be important for us in the long run. But state law is set up in such a way as it's really, it's almost impossible to annex property because a vast majority of people in a particular neighborhood have to be for that. We really can't start any kind of annexation unless we can create incentives for the people to want to come into the city. And thus far, we've not been able to do that at all times. A lot of times it's fire protection that becomes one of the incentives. So I think we're really kind of driven by state law. The one area that we can is when there's a new development that goes in out there, we can make sure, we can work with the developers to make sure that they come into the city before they start selling lots and building houses, and we do need to be more aggressive in that particular area. So I think we're kind of driven by state law. As far as city-county agreements, there's not many things more important to both the city of Paducah and McCracken County than cooperation between the city and county. And that has to be equitable. It has to be financially equitable, and we're not going to be able to accomplish our long-term goals without us negotiating fair and equitable agreements and looking at problems, many problems, and addressing those really together. And that's going to require trust, and it's going to require collaboration, but certainly equitable financial agreements between the city and the county are paramount to that.
Thank you.
Could I just a little follow-up on that?
Oh, there you go. Okay, give me 1 second. Let me put my timer to 1 minute. You can go.
So I think if you look at the Olivet Church Road corridor from there out to Cairo Road, those companies, businesses, the Hulks right there, wanted to be annexed into the city. So we've done that. Out that way, I think that's where you'll see some annexation going on. Again, it's not something that, it's something that you look to do by law. Cities can do forced annexation, but that is not something that I'm in favor of. So if you want to be a part of the city, and people want to be a part of the city for reasons, there are the utilities, and well, maybe not the power, because that's hurting us right now. But some of the other things that we have going on, they want to be a part of it, and that's one way they could be a part of that.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bray, 1 minute.
Yeah, Commissioner Abraham, I mean, has the city, the commissioners and the mayor, have you all had conversations about annexation and how you would go about that and whether or not it's feasible and how you do grow properties inside the city?
Yeah, that conversation happens all the time. So which way do you want to go? Do you want to force annexation? Because there's only a couple of ways you can do it. No, that's not something that I would be in favor of. However, again, if a business or a plot of property wants to be annexed into the city, then we will make ourselves available. We'll do the due diligence on what we need to do to get that done, and that's the way we do it. If you force folks to do things, that creates bad feelings. So, again, that conversation happens all the time. It's just where do you come down on? What side of that coin do you come down on? And I come down on the side of voluntary.
Thank you. Time is going back to 2 minutes. And we are going to have Ms. Benberry. We're back at you if you want to answer or ask your next question.
Okay. When the Census Bureau created the word Latino in 1997, it attempted to group the many peoples of Latin America and the Caribbean into one, disregarding fundamental differences in experience and culture each individual nationality cultivates. There's the Puerto Rican, Dominican, Mexican, Ecuadorian, Cuban, Salvadorian, Guatemalan, Honduran, Venezuelan, Brazilian, Colombian, and other Central American and South American, and the mixed Latino. There's the first and second generation Latino, the permanent resident, the undocumented immigrant community, and the LGBTQ Latinx. But we are all connected by the love of our Latin heritage, of family, and the ability to live in an accepting community, and in one which we can thrive as active community members. If you are elected, can you share how you will aid Paducah in efforts to welcome the diverse populations of Latino and Latinx into the city, and how you will work to create incentives for the development of Latino and Latinx-owned businesses?
Mr. Abraham?
Well, that's what you get with labels, see. You want to put one label on such a diverse group of individuals. That happens a lot in our culture. To try to answer that question, that's a big one. Doing what I could do as mayor to build a relationship, a better relationship with Latino community is something that will have to occur. I am probably the most approachable person in the city. When I come into a room, because of my stature, I demand attention, but I don't seek it. I think a leader is a person that doesn't seek self-gratification, but is here to serve. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. So anything that I can do to enhance a person, to motivate them to do what they feel they need to do to be successful, particularly here in the city of Paducah, I'm willing to do it. So if that's a meeting with a group, if that's creating cultural events, whatever that is, I'm willing to sit down and do that. And I think so many things starts with a conversation, and I'm willing to have those conversations.
Thank you.
Could you repeat the end of that question?
Yes, if you are elected, can you share how you will aid Paducah in efforts to welcome the diverse populations of Latino and Latinx into the city, and how you will work to create incentives for the Latino development of businesses?
You can go.
Well, I believe Paducah is a family, a diverse family. And I feel like I will welcome any community, especially the Latinx community, in hearing what they have to say, hearing what they need and hearing what they want. And I believe sitting down with that community and, like I said earlier, sitting down with them, figuring out what they want and need and what routes we can take to help them get that. Because I also want to help every community here in Paducah. But I know there is some communities that feel left out. So we got to, when I am mayor, I will make sure that we don't leave anybody out. I want them to feel welcomed. I want them to feel like they have a place here. Because like I said, Paducah is a diverse place, and we are a family here in Paducah. So it's going to take sitting down with them and just talking with them. Like he said, it takes a conversation, and it takes hearing out what they need. As mayor, that's my job, to listen to the people, and that's what I plan on doing.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Mr. Bray?
So if there's 3.1% of our population in Paducah that's Latino or Latinx, that's about 700 people. So Within that group of 700 people, I'm not sure exactly how many individual cultures there are. But I think diversity is so important to our community. And it's so important to our community in the future. So we have to celebrate the different cultures and allow our Latino population to celebrate and help them celebrate their own cultures. As far as businesses go, I think they come, that population comes into most of the time into the category of small businesses or startup businesses, and so I feel it's very important that we embrace startup businesses and small businesses to help them grow. And I have a plan to do that for small businesses, and it's going to involve getting our bankers together to help, and getting our investors together to help, and really stimulating the startup and the growth of small businesses. And I think the Latinx population would fall squarely in that particular area.
Timer set to 1 minute. Rebuttal.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that also bringing those investments for small entrepreneurships and small businesses is a key thing in welcoming that community, since they are such a small population in our city. And I also want to bring incentives for entrepreneurs, especially minority entrepreneurs in our city, to help them get their startups, because they may not come from a lot. So I want to help them as much as I can to ensure that they can provide for their families and for their generations moving forward. And then also for events, I want to host diverse events. I don't believe that Paducah houses any events that revolves around different cultures in our city. So I want to bring that. That would bring tourism. That would bring people from all across Kentucky, because they don't have these things in our area. So I want to bring events like that that would bring revenue, tourism, and bring something fun for people to do, because people are bored. So I plan to do that after COVID-19 ends. So.
Anyone else? Okay, now we are at Mr. Ross, if I'm not mistaken. The timer is set back at 2 minutes.
How will you bridge an equal and nonpartisan business relationship with our local small businesses? I just want to add a little bit to that. Oftentimes, for within the black community, I can speak of more so than anything else, is that we feel what we do is the city is really great at really educating the community on different ways in which to conduct business. Mm-hmm. We look at our website, they have different little tutorials, but what they're doing but it's not actually within the community. Within that particular community, within the black community. It's not at a central type of a location. So let me read this again. How will you bridge an equal and nonpartisan business relationship with our local small businesses?
Well, one of the things is it's extremely hard to do, very challenging, I must say, is to start a business. That's true for anyone. One of the things that I'm very interested in is financial literacy, making sure that those folks who are going into business understand exactly what all that entails. Usually when you want to start a business, you got a couple of things. You got initiative, you got energy, and you got passion, and you're ready to go. What you may not have is some of those intricate things that you need to. It's one thing to own a business. It's another thing to grow one. So there are some things that you may need, reaching out to those financial folks here in the city that has that skill set to meet, not at City Hall, to meet some centrally located place in the city to make sure if this is what you're going to do, this is what you're going to need, and lay that groundwork out. Those are already in small businesses, maybe they're missing a couple of dots over the I or to cross the T, making sure that they understand this is what you need to go to the next level. And in some cases, not all, in some cases, having that mentor there, I think that's something that I know myself, you have mentored younger, maybe inexperienced folks that's trying to do something. Well, bringing all of those things together to ensure that if this is what you want to do, let's make sure you have the tools to get that done.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas?
Could you repeat the last part of that question?
Yes.
Please.
A equal and nonpartisan business relationship with our local small businesses.
Definitely. And you said the African American community, right?
Well, that's I'm speaking from just being a black man myself. You know, we let me just kind of we oftentimes we have people who are conducting business within the city, but not necessarily a business owner. You know, you have just as Mr. Abraham just mentioned, you have a desire, but at the same time you're trying to get this. Within our community, we don't have the resources, all the resources necessary to be able to completely start this business. We've got all the desire, we've got the passion, but at the same time, what are those missing pieces? So in terms, what I'm saying is how will you bridge that gap? You know, because we still need that. You know, if the need is still there. So how will you bridge that gap?
Okay.
You can start.
Well, yeah, that's one major thing that I faced growing up here in the city. I'm now a business owner, and it's mainly online business, and I have family members that are business owners, small business owners here in the city. So I know it is a struggle getting there. And especially for young people, there's young people here in our city that want to do things like this. They have the passion, they have the ambition, they have the drive, but they don't have the resources. Once I'm mayor, I'm going to make sure those resources come here. They shouldn't have to leave our city to try to find opportunity in a bigger city or in another city. We need to bring those opportunities here to keep our youth here, because the youth is the future of Paducah. If we don't give them what they need here in our city, they're just going to keep leaving, and then what's going to happen to Paducah? We're not going to have anybody here. So we need, I know I will, make sure that we have incentives and programs for entrepreneurs. And I like what he said about mentorships. That's one thing that I've really wanted to bring here as well, because there are some families that don't have a father in their home or somebody to look up to in that kind of way. So I want to bring mentorships in business as well, because God blessed me with major opportunities. I've been mentored by billionaires. So I know that these opportunities are out here, but I'm going to find a way to bring it here so we won't have to face these issues.
Thank you.
So ask it one more time, please. Not all of it, just the question is.
Yes. How will you bridge a equal and nonpartisan business relationship with our local small businesses?
To me, the startup and growth of black businesses in Paducah is extremely important. And I think there's a few ways that you can do that. But I think as mayor, the mayor is in a position of influence. The mayor is in a position who can bring parties together to help. And the first thing you have to do is you have to listen, you have to understand what the issues are, you have to understand who wants to start businesses, how many people are out there, but then you have to go talk and you have to understand. But eventually, you have to provide access to capital. You somehow have to, if they've got the heart, the desire, the thought process, the business acumen, they've been working for somebody else and they want to jump out on their own, they're going to have access to capital. That's the very first step. So we've got to somehow pull people together and provide access to capital. But the next step past access to capital is really expertise, because it's not easy. You get the capital, you start the business, and all of a sudden, you've got 6 employees, 3 of them quit on one day. I mean, it's very challenging. So you have to provide expertise and mentoring and people who can come in and help. And so that's going to be one of my primary goals in getting involved with black businesses, is helping the startup of those businesses.
Thank you, and I think you have a rebuttal.
Yeah, one of the things that when you talk about understanding exactly how to get from A to B, you got all the enthusiasm, ready to go, and you understand, because you understand it's going to be challenging. If you had 5 more of yourself, you'd be set. But typically that's not the case. So the first thing is, what's the difference between a credit score of 600 and 400? Well, 600 open doors. Now you can get a loan. Now you can do some things, but if you don't understand the difference between that, if you don't understand that, you're going to struggle. So that's where that financial literacy come in. And we got financial experts all across this city. George talked about the mayor's seat being a seat of influence. Well, I love that seat. I love that seat because I have that, that's what I bring to the table. So literacy, financial literacy, understanding the dollar and how it works is paramount.
Perfect. Anyone else? No? Okay. We'll go ahead to our third panelist, Mrs. Bidwell.
Where do you think you can have the greatest impact on the community if you are elected? Education, employment, and by employment I mean not just getting a job, but getting a better job and moving up, or health and wellness issues, and I would like to just include their mental health as well, physical and mental health.
Mr. Abraham?
Motivating individuals to do what we all say. Let me put it this way, we'll break it down to it. I'm a former football player, so I'm going to use this as an analogy. At the beginning of the football season, the coach asked a question: how many people want to play for a state championship? Everybody in the room raised their hand. So how many people in this city want better physical health or some of the other things that you mentioned? Okay, that's great. Now, are we willing to do what it takes to get to where we want to be? That's the question. And so as a motivator from the mayor's seat, then that gives me a tool to use when I go and I talk to some of the best healthcare providers anywhere in the nation right here with our two fabulous hospitals. Or go to other partners and seeing what I can do to enhance what they're doing. Same message coming from the mayor's seat, encouraging folks to do those things that they say they want to do. A lot of times we can do some things that doesn't cost a whole lot of money when it comes to your health. And so that would be one of the things that I bring to the table. I've always been that way, and have always been well received.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas?
Could you repeat the question?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Where do you think you can have the greatest impact on the community if elected? Education, employment, including better employment, health or wellness issues, and also including mental health there?
So is it just one, or is that what the question is?
Well, that is the question. Where would you have the greatest impact? But I think it's up to you to answer however you like.
You can go ahead.
I believe that it wouldn't be imperative to just focus on one. As I said, Paducah is a family, and with the family, you got to face all these issues. And I think whenever we get to one of those issues, that's where the focus should be when it comes to employment, health and wellness. I think that once those issues come up, that's what we should focus on at that time. Because as mayor, I'm supposed to be a leader, so the people should look up to me when it comes to those situations. And I believe that I will be prepared for that when it comes to health and wellness, because mental health is a major thing. And I believe that we do have a good health system here in Paducah with our two hospitals and other clinics that are scattered around. So I think that's a good spot. And with employment, like I said, I want to bring entrepreneurship here. So I do want to focus on employment as well. And what was the last thing? I'm sorry. Or the first thing?
Education?
Education, yeah, education is a major thing. And I like what he said about financial literacy. That's one thing that I do want to focus on, especially with the youth. So I think education is a major thing, especially with politics. The youth should get more involved with politics and learn about their elected officials because their voices matter when it comes to those kind of issues.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Mr. Bray?
Well, I think all three of those areas are important, and certainly, in terms of healthcare, we do have two great hospitals that are really magnets for the population and for people to come here. We have our school systems are fantastic. So I think as mayor, you would be able to have an impact in all of those areas. But the area that I would have the most impact would be in jobs and better jobs. And that would be through the attraction of new businesses coming into the area. It would be getting involved with the businesses that are already there. 2/3 of new jobs are created by companies already here. And so we have to create and maintain an environment for those companies to grow and to want to grow and to take any barriers down from them to grow. So that's very important. And then the third very important point of jobs is really helping entrepreneurs get into business. Entrepreneurs in any community are very, very important. The Federal Reserve Board was here in Paducah this past summer, and I was fortunate enough to be invited to the luncheon with the person out of St. Louis, and he was going over different traits in the community. And one of the most important traits he pointed out was communities that grow, they embrace their entrepreneurs and they find ways to help them start their businesses. And that is critical to our future.
Okay, we have one or two rebuttals. One, okay, Mr. Thomas, go ahead.
It's for Mr. Bray. I do have a question. You had a business here in Paducah, correct?
Did I have yes, uh-huh.
You did. So is that business still in Paducah?
I didn't own, the business that I actually owned was here in Paducah. Mm-hmm. I didn't own a business. I worked for a corporation.
Okay. But it's no longer in Paducah?
It is not.
Okay. What was the reason for them moving?
The reason that Amerisourcebergen, you're speaking of Amerisourcebergen, the company that I spent 42 years with, Amerisourcebergen left here for the same reason that Higdon Foods and Howell Beauty Supply and a number of other distribution businesses left here over the years, and it's because they were attracted to where the greater populations were. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, they did not want to make a $50 million, $40 million investment in Paducah. They wanted to make it in either Indianapolis, Chicago, or Memphis. That is a trend that distribution businesses all over the country are experiencing.
Okay. I have a rebuttal.
Just Paducah, one of the things that you get excited about when you look at Paducah, I would as a business person, if I was in that line of work, is where it's located. I mean, you talk about centrally located. I mean, we're here where we're located. If you're looking at distributing whatever it is that you're selling, you can get to a lot of places really fast from right here in Paducah. And that's one of the things that's a draw that where we are, where we're located. So anyone that is looking to relocate their business, their distribution center, to get to various places really fast, Paducah's here. We're right here. We got rail, we got all this stuff you hear all the time. It's right here. We just got to get those people here. But the biggest asset that we have, we didn't have anything to do with, which was location.
Thank you. And Mr. Parker?
Thank you. All right. What are your feelings on a local option restaurant tax? In favor or not in favor? And how far, if you're in favor, are you willing to go to get our state legislatures to change the laws to treat all the small and mid-sized cities the same as far as like going in lawsuits, etc.?
Chaining yourself to the Frankfurt door, something like that. That's one thing that it escapes me, where some cities are allowed to impose that tax and some cities aren't. Here's the thing: when you have that tax, and nobody wants to talk about taxes, but if the situation occurs and you're like, okay, we have to do something to create revenue. Well, you want to make sure that you're doing something that's going to have the least impact on the people that live in your community. So if you do a restaurant tax, if you go out by the mall prior to the pandemic, and you look at the license plates at all the different counties that are here in Paducah eating, most of the folks are paying that money, paying that tax. They're not from here. They're from other counties. And so that would be a reason why we should follow this down the road, because it allows you to do some things that you can't do right now because of financial strains. I think if something like that is a lot more reasonable, the majority of folks, like I said, is going to pay that tax. They're passing through. They're making it a point to come to here to eat or whatever it is, restaurant to eat, knowing that, and they come for the experience and they go home, or they're passing through from St. Louis to Nashville. So I think folks know that when they travel, and I think it's really handcuffing us. Let me put it this way. I think it's another tool that we could use if necessary, but we're not given that opportunity, and other communities across the state is.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas?
What was the tax that you said?
It's a local option restaurant tax. It's a tax that some of the communities, the smaller cities are able to, well, take for instance, Hopkinsville and Elizabethtown both just built baseball, softball, soccer complexes, and they done it a lot by a local restaurant tax, by putting that tax on people that travel in their communities.
I see. Ready?
Yeah. And we're not allowed to. And Paducah's not allowed to. That's the point.
I see. Well, I really do feel like whenever it comes to raising taxes or anything to do with taking money from the people's pockets, I believe their voices should be involved in that decision. I, for one, don't really support raising taxes, but in situations like that, where it's restaurant tax, where there is people coming from all across the area to eat at those restaurants, it is something that might be enticing to a government official. But again, that would have to be, a majority of the citizens would have to be in agreement with that. And I think, that's really my thoughts on it. I believe the people's voices should matter when it comes to raising taxes in any situation.
Mr. Bray?
I am for the tax. I believe that Paducah needs to be on equal footing with other cities of our size. I think we need more sports facilities. We need to be able to use that tax for things that we need to improve the community. I think that's very important. And how far would I go to help? I would collaborate with the county and help put a strategy together to work with our legislatures and the governor and anybody else to try to get that done. I think it's very important.
Okay. Any rebuttals?
Well, not really a rebuttal. It's just amazing to me when you have that type of situation across the state where you have some communities, you allow them to do that. And here, we're not asking to do anything different. We just want to be able to do that the other communities across the state are doing. And you get pushback for various reasons. But we need to get that changed.
Mr. Brecht?
So I would just ask Commissioner Abraham, has that been discussed among the city commissioners and the mayor, and what has been the attitude of the current administration as far on that tax?
Oh yeah, I mean it's talked about all the time. We got crazy projects we need money for. So that conversation happens all the time. Unfortunately for us, the decision makers, I'm talking, you send the emails, you write the letters, you encourage the citizenry to write the letters, you encourage the businesses to write the letters. And it's up to the guys in Frankfurt. I mean, you can do what you can do from this level of government, but it's up to Frankfurt to change those policies, to change those laws to allow that equality across when it comes to that type of tax.
Okay. Anyone else? Mr. Thomas? Okay. So we're a little bit early on time, and this is the time. But prior to me doing this, I didn't know since we got 30 minutes, what our plan was to give you all about 2 minutes to wrap up. Is that what we're going to continue to do since we have that time? Okay. Great. We'll go in the order that we did before. We'll start with you, Mr. Abraham. 2 minutes to kind of wrap up if you wanted to tie anything up.
This is it?
That's it. Yeah, we're good. We're on time, man.
Good job, guys. Well, first of all, I am excited to be at this stage, to be on the on the cusp of becoming mayor of this city. Unbeknownst to me, when I was 12 years old, my dad moved us here. Grew up here the mid-'90s to late 90s. We had an amazing street ministry vision in the city of Paducah that showed me the inside out of this city. Partners helping youth. It was all about the youth, understanding that if the heart of the city is strong, then the rest of the city is strong. And then having the relationship with the folks here to have served as long as I have, it's been a blessing, and I haven't taken it for granted. To sit in the mayor's seat would be a blessing, and I would treat it with the integrity it deserves, making sure that we function the way we are supposed to function. And that's not just a coat of paint. It actually comes down to the older I get, I'm 60 now, the older I get, I pay more attention to what people do and not so much of what they say. So I would appreciate your support moving forward, and thank you guys for hosting this event.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas?
Yeah, again, I want to say thank you for allowing me to come to this debate. And about myself, you know, I have a focus on what the citizens want in our city, and that's balance the budget, fix our roads, fix our sewers, bring activities for all and especially the youth, and I want to develop the South Side because it's been ignored for far too long. And, you know, my heart is for this city. I've been here mostly all of my life. I was born and raised here. So my heart is for the people, and I want to give the people their voice back because it's been taken away, and I don't like that. So a vote for DeJuan Thomas will be a vote for you, for your voice, for your decisions, what you want in your city, because we are a family. And I believe it's time to put Paducah first.
Mr. Bray?
Well, thank you very much for allowing me to be here. This has been quite a journey for me over the last 7 or 8 months. I've met a lot of great people. I do truly believe Paducah is at a crossroads. Our population really has been slowly declining since 1960, and I think strong leadership is required, and it's required now. I'm running on a platform of transparency and trust in government. I'm running on a platform of economic development, bringing more jobs to Paducah and better jobs to Paducah, and helping those businesses in Paducah grow now. Fiscal responsibility. We must be fiscally responsible on how we spend the city's dollars. We must look at every penny that we spend, and we must do it very wisely. And we must look at our infrastructure. Infrastructure has been ignored, especially the stormwater system, for a long, long time. We have talked about it a lot tonight. We've had a lot of rain in the last few days. This is actually the front page of the Paducah Sun this morning that shows all of this flooding, and so we have to address that, and we have to prioritize it. A vote for me is a vote for change, and it's a vote for leadership, and it's a vote for a better Paducah. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just wanted to remind everyone that you can register to vote. The deadline is October 5th at 4 p.m. You can go to govote.ky.com, and the general election will be November 3rd. And with that, I want to thank everyone who participated, our panelists and our candidates, and I am going to give it to Ms. Dorothea. Thank you so much for having me as a moderator.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. You did an excellent job. Thank you all so much for being here. On behalf of Project Speak Live, we're excited about what we're trying to create in this city, and that is a place so that you have a voice, and everyone has a voice. And I think that the citizens have been served in Paducah very well tonight in hearing what it is that you have to say. And thank you so much for your panel, for your questions. They were very wonderful questions, and we appreciate the opportunity to serve you. Look for us again. We're going to keep talking, and we're going to keep offering opportunities where our community can be cohesive and can actually be heard in a way that serves everybody. And so I think we really did a great job of that tonight, so I want to give you a hand for that. I truly appreciate each and every one of you, and we look forward to serving you again. So stay tuned, Paducah. We are going to come back to you again, at another time to serve you. So we look forward to engaging with you in many different ways to include more conversations with our local leadership. Thank you so much, you all. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.